Have you ever opened up your bill, or nowadays it's on your phone or whatever, your credit card bill or one of your bills, and you're like, what the heck? What? How did I spend this much money? And why do I still owe this much? And that could be a very common experience for a lot of people. And there's a little bit of a disconnect when we do almost the exact same thing where it comes to weighing in or checking our measurements. At some point, you ate more calories than you needed that day. And you probably did it for a good reason. Maybe it was a special occasion. Maybe you needed the fuel, or you felt you needed the fuel. Maybe you just didn't anticipate eating that much that day, and you took out more calorie debt than maybe you needed to that day. You weren't able to pay it back off. And with time, it started to accumulate and accumulate, and this is basically the body fat that's accumulating on your body. So at this point in time, you now owe all this calorie debt, and you need to start paying it back. How do you start paying it back? By increasing the amount of activity in relation to how much more calorie debt you take on. So every day, by the more you eat, you're taking on this calorie debt. So one of the ways that you can reduce your calorie debt is to spend less. So eat less calories to make that debt not as big, and then pay it back by getting active a little bit more often. So this is why negative calorie balance is important, because the only way to start paying back this debt that you've incurred is to more quickly pay it back. And that's by increasing activity. So when you're looking at your statement, there's no real option to look at your bill and say, you know what, forget it. I'm giving up on this. I'm not doing this anymore. It's not being paid down fast enough. But you will do that when you weigh in. And maybe that's where the disconnect is. The thing is that, you at some point enjoyed those calories. You took on that calorie debt. You probably took it on for a good reason. But at some point, you got to pay back those calories. There's no free ride, and recognizing that, it might be more helpful to understand that you are in control. You can pay this back, and there is ways to do it. You get into a nice plan, you get into a nice rhythm, and the more often you can do every day, and the more activity and the more often you can get active, the quicker you're going to be able to pay this back. And some days you might be able to pay back a whole bunch all at once, and maybe the next day not as much. That doesn't matter as much as long as you're consistently paying back this calorie debt. And I promise you, if you continually to focus on paying down this debt, like it was a student loan, like it was a loan, like it was a mortgage, whatever it might be, you'll recognize that this is slowly decreasing. You're slowly see the results you're looking for. But just like a large debt, it will take time. It's not something that you'll be able to pay off in 1 week or two. It might be taking a little bit longer, but for as long as you maintain that consistency and you get more active than you you take in, relatively speaking, you will pay down this calorie debt and you will get down to your goal. So just remain patient, and remember, there's not really the option to just forfeit on your calorie debt.